Hi, welcome back to the course. In this part, we'll be taking a warm-up shot. I know we've not really done anything till now. You've not actually seen how the strobe light works when you're taking a shot. You've also not seen what settings you would require in your camera when you're taking a studio shot. So I know we haven't done that, but we of course will be covering all that in the subsequent videos. But right now, I always like to do this in my courses. I like to get you into the feel of things. So we'll be just taking a shot so that you can understand how things work in studio photography. And as a bonus, which is a very important bonus in this video, you'll be learning how to take a selfie, which is very important, especially in home studio photography, especially when you're starting out, because you may not be too comfortable with shooting someone else, because you may not be too confident in your skills. So one of the best subjects to practice studio photography is yourself, and I'm going to be showing you exactly how to take a shot from this camera right here so that you can learn how to shoot yourself, practice different techniques that we'll be learning on later in this course on yourself. That's very important. So we'll be doing that in this very video. Now, let me just briefly explain you the setup that we are following here. We're following a one light setup. So we just got this strobe here. Later on, we'll be looking at different types of light setups like the 1 light, 2 light, 3 light, 4 light setups. And then you'll understand how exactly things work. But right now you can see that we've just got a 1 light setup, which we will be revisiting again in a dedicated 1 light setup video. Now, so I've got one strobe here, I've also got my backdrop here, and I've got my camera here. Now regarding the camera, one important thing is that right now, of course, my camera here is on the tripod. That's because I'm shooting. And of course, for a selfie, you will need the tripod. But when you're actually shooting, you can have a tripod or you may not have a tripod. Of course, if you're subject to someone else, but it's up to you. But one important thing is that you'll usually be shooting in the portrait format like you can see. So the camera is aligned vertically. That's because, first of all, it's good to shoot portraits that way. That's why it's called the portrait mode, and because the bodies are usually longer. But especially in home studio photography, it's very important that you shoot this way because you don't have too much space. So if you shoot in the landscape format, what can happen is that a lot of things from the side may be seen, and since you're just doing this in your home, you may not have a wide enough backdrop, and you'll have to just crop things a lot. So it's just better to shoot this in the vertical portrait format. Now you can see that I've got this mannequin also right next to me. Now in most of the videos in this course, this mannequin will be one of our subjects that we'll be using to show you the different lighting techniques and all the settings that we'll be using. And in this particular video, the reason that this mannequin is there is because since we're learning how to take a self shot or a selfie, the important thing is that we need to tell the camera where to focus, because remember, there's no one at the back of the camera. You're doing it all yourself. Now, if you have the newer cameras, they have face recognition autofocuses, which makes the job much easier. But right now, I want to demonstrate this in such a way that no matter which camera you have, you are able to focus on yourself. And the old school way of focusing on yourself is that you first lock the focus somewhere where you'll be standing. This is where the mannequin will be helpful to us, because we'll be able to, as I'll be showing you once we go behind the screen, we'll first lock focus on the mannequin's face or the eye. Then we'll lock our focus by changing from autofocus to manual focus. That will make sure that our focus stays locked. And then ultimately we'll be removing the mannequin and we'll be coming exactly where this mannequin was, and then we'll be taking the shot. So let's see how this process works by going behind the camera. Alright, so you can see that this is the setup that we've got. So you can see that my camera is mounted in the portrait format on the tripod, and we can see the mannequin through our LCD screen because I'm on the live view. And of course, the important thing is that I've got my transmitter on the camera. So this is going to connect us to the strobe light, because ultimately this is what is going to trigger the strobe. And you can see the strobe is switched on here. So we have got everything set up. It's a pretty basic one light setup. So let's see now how to lock the focus. So you can see that this is what we are seeing through our camera right now. And you can see the mannequin is here and the focus point is here. Both these things are going to be important, of course. Now, let me just clarify one thing. Of course, we are shooting this on the manual mode. And if you notice the settings here, the shutter speed is 1/200. The f-stop is, the aperture is f8, and ISO is 100. Now, why am I using these settings? We'll be talking about this later on. Like I said, this is just a warm-up shot. Right now, I don't want to burden you with this knowledge. So from the next section onwards, we'll actually be we'll be going one by one to shutter speed, aperture, and ISO, and we'll be seeing what are the settings for all three that are required for studio photography. And it's pretty straightforward and easy, because in studio photography, settings do change, but not that much. So That's one good thing about studio photography, but we're going to cover this later on. Right now we're looking at how to focus on ourselves. Right, so I've got this mannequin and you can see that I can move around my focus point. Of course, I'm not shooting through the viewfinder because I need to show you how to do this. So I'm shooting through the live view. So the first step, of course, is that I'm going to focus on the mannequin's face. So you can just hear the beep when I have pressed the shutter button. That's how you lock focus. So the focus is locked on the mannequin's face. This is exactly where I will be going later on in standing. And now what I need to do is I just need to make sure that this focus stays locked. And for this, I'll have to switch over from autofocus to manual focus. But before I show you that, there's another way that you can do this very easily, which is if your camera has the feature for face recognition, like a lot of mirrorless cameras these days even have eye recognition, so they're that precise. But let's say if you have something like this, you can see with the face here. If I were to do this, this will automatically detect the face and you can see that the focus point directly goes onto the face, right? But and in that case, it'll be very easy because all I'll have to do is I'll just have to walk over. I don't even actually need the mannequin in that case because I can just be standing. I'll just need a remote and I can just fire away because ultimately it's gonna recognize my face and focus on it. But like I said before, I wanna demonstrate this in such a way that in case your camera does not have this, then what is the old school way of doing this? The old school way is just to have a normal focus point, focus on the eye, at least on the face, lock the focus, and then what you do is to lock it, like I told you, switch over from autofocus to manual focus like I'm doing right now. So I have done that and now my focus is locked. Now what I need to do is I need to activate the remote mode because ultimately remember that I will be using the remote to fire the shot. This is something that won't change no matter which focusing method that you're using because of course you're not on the camera. So you'll be using a wireless remote or any other app on your phone that you have that you can use to fire your camera, the shutter button remotely. Right, so everything is set. I've put my camera on the remote mode. Our focus is done. Now all that is left is I just have to go stand exactly where this mannequin was, remove the mannequin and then just press the shutter button of my remote to take the shot. So let's see how this works. So now I move over and I'll just move this mannequin, stand exactly where this mannequin was supposed to be, give a pose, and all I have to do is just press the shutter button to take the shot. And you can see that this strobe will fire on me and we'll get a decent looking shot. So let's do this. Okay, so let's see our shot. Okay, so we have the shot here. It's not too bad. The subject could have been better, but if you're doing this on your own, one thing you can see here is that you can see the remote in my hand. So one thing I like to do is that if your camera offers you a delayed remote firing system, for example, the Nikon D5300, which I've used to take this shot, offers a 2-second delay on the remote. So that means when I press the remote to fire away the shot, I still have 2 seconds before the camera actually takes the shot, and that gives me enough time to put the remote in my pocket or just throw it somewhere around nearby and the remote won't be seen in your hand. So you'll find a way to do that. So now that you know how to take a self-portrait, let's go on to the next video where the serious stuff will start because we'll be learning about the settings that go into studio photography. So I'll see you there.